know. I'm curious, and I hope that all of our talking about this guy right now in this situation doesn't turn into them kicking our ass this
There's a
weekend and
fake
us
wood
looking even
table. Just
dumber.
knock on it.
Yeah,
There's
knock on it.
There's pressed wood in there somewhere.
Yeah.
45, 40, 35, 40, he's gonna go! It's time people feel it! Day by day, he gets better and better! He gets better and better! Team is If we die, we die!
Man, it's moving a child in that. Put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln!
Wham, wham. Well, we already did. Me and Matt already did a reaction show for Sunday, or for Saturday actually. But Jed, we haven't heard your thoughts on the game. I think everybody, for the most part, has overreacted massively.
Yeah.
Do you have any parting words before we jump into the questions?
I had a great time with my youngest son being there. It was a great environment for the 400th consecutive sellout. The whole thing in the stands with the cards and the placards and stuff like that, flipping those over was super cool to see. It was the first time my son has gotten to see the light show. He thought that was awesome. It was funny when everybody, pulls out their phones and turns the light on and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you could kind of see it popping up. And Dale's like, "Oh, this is cool." I go, "Oh, just wait. They haven't turned the lights off yet, or
hasn't even gotten close yet, there, guy."
Yeah. And then as everything was progressing and all that stuff, he was like, "Oh my God, this is the best." And he kept asking me, he's like, does other schools across the country have this kind of an atmosphere? I said, yeah, the big schools do. But, we also just do it a little differently here, and it's pretty fucking cool. So the game sucked. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it was actually a pretty fucking good game.
It was awesome.
Yeah. The outcome sucked. Yes, I was emotional after the game as far as I probably said some of the things that we've been hearing over the last couple of days.
Yeah, but you got lucky. You didn't even have your phone, so you weren't saying anything publicly.
I said something on Twitter yesterday. I was like, I was as much as I hated not having a phone for 4 days, I was very thankful that I didn't have the idiots at my fingertips.
Yeah, well, that too.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure the internet noticed how quiet it was over in Jedland for
Yes.
those 4 days.
I tried to keep the Big Red Junkies page going afloat, and it was really difficult at times to bite my tongue.
Yeah, but did everything look great? Of course not. But man, I don't understand most of the overreaction because, and maybe I'm trying to, we talked about this in the preview show for Illinois, where Damon Benning talked about how if we want this program to change its mental capacity, then the fans do too.
Yeah.
And that goes along with losing games where maybe we're not as good as we thought we were for the first 3 games, but we're also definitely not as bad as some of you people think that we are after one loss.
You people.
So, and I do mean you people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, personally, I think when I've rewatched the game now 3 times, the third time I was pretty much just skipping through it, looking at line stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought there were some positives in the game you can take away from. I think that every game this season so far, I have gotten more comfortable with Satterfield's play calling. I still think that it was strange to have a 4th-string tight end in the game to go catch a touchdown in a very pivotal moment. But
Completely
at the same time,
disagree, but that's okay.
the play worked.
That's my point.
Dylan just didn't make the throw.
Yeah.
The field goal would have worked if it would have gone in. There's a bunch of stuff that we're there. We're making the right moves. And everybody that wants to say the sky is falling, this is the same old shit, same old thing. Yeah, if you look at the very, very tip-top surface, did we lose by a missed field goal? Yes. Did we have a bunch of penalties? Yes. Did we shoot ourselves in the foot a couple times? Yes. This was not the same type of one-score loss that we've seen for the last fucking decade. This is a team where you can still very clearly see progress. You can still very clearly see things are going the right direction. If anything, I think the defense probably came in thinking this was going to be more of a cakewalk than it was. I think they've had a little bit more of an air of arrogance and that they didn't really know what to do when they got hit in the mouth. As MJ Sherman said, we got punched in the mouth. We got to put our hands up next time. We got to decide how we're going to respond to it.
The thing is, I'm not going to say that I disagree with what MJ Sherman said because he certainly knows more than I do. But I almost sort of disagree with the whole we got punched in the mouth and we didn't do anything about it because, like what you just said, this was different than all the other times that we got punched in the mouth. All the other times in the past when we got punched in the mouth, we literally laid down in the fetal position and just waited until they were done.
That's pretty much what we did in overtime.
Well, yeah, but for the entire game, we come out.
We
We
were getting punched in the mouth the entire game.
Yeah.
but we responded most of the time during the game. Did we respond enough to win the game? Of course not. But we responded during the game. We came out. Obviously, a juiced atmosphere, 400th consecutive sellout. We go 4 and out. We punt the ball. That sucks. And Illinois goes right down the field and scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
We respond with like an 8-minute drive, score a touchdown. We also then kick a field goal. So we score 10 straight points after a disappointing start to the game, both on offense and on defense.
Yep.
And it just kept going back and forth. Every time Illinois would tie the game up, we would go down and take the lead back again. We answered on a lot of their punches. We just didn't answer on enough of their punches.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
it was not like all of the other games.
hopefully this week it's just us beating the shit out of Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to go right along with what you said there, I think one of my biggest things that I took away from everything on it was Dylan Rhule had some freshman moments. He missed some passes. Tom Brady missed passes. Patrick Mahomes misses passes. Those things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. You have you look at the people that are throwing the giant fit. Well, how are we? It ended up the game closed at 9.5. Nebraska is a favorite. How on earth can we lose like this if we're a 9-point favorite? How is Penn State an 18.5-point favorite over Illinois next week? Well, think about it this way: Dylan Rhule makes that pass, and Isaiah Nayor has slightly stronger hands. That's a 14-point game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy that it could have wound up with Nebraska covering the spread.
Well, go across the country. How did Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame as whatever the point spread was on that game? I don't know. I'm sure it was a lot.
I think they were like a plus 23.5 or
So,
24.5.
but you see this every week.
Yeah.
Like teams upset other teams. It's
Yeah.
what happens. That's one of the reasons why
Kentucky almost beat Georgia last week.
And I know that this is the world. You just know that I'm not a gambling person. And whenever you bring up the spread, I'm like, I just don't give a shit because it doesn't mean anything as far as when you're actually playing the game. The games are played on the field, and that's what I care about.
Yeah.
I don't care about how much somebody is favored by because shit happens. We've talked about it for many weeks now. Winning is hard. And just because you're favored by 9, 10, 20 points doesn't guarantee you dick.
Yeah. No, you're spot on.
Any given Sunday applies to Saturdays too.
Yes.
People also need to fucking remember that Vegas is wrong a lot. They're really, really right a lot, and there's games that stick out in your mind where you're like, how the fuck did that, like the weirdest, most obscure totals, like how the fuck were they, half point one way or the other way off? But then you also look at the ones where it's like Georgia was favored, I think, by 14 or 17 to beat Kentucky 2 weeks ago, and that was a 1-point game.
Well,
Georgia was down in the fourth quarter.
Also, again, you guys are gamblers, so you understand that. But like, isn't the number like if you're 56% or 55% on the season, that's like a very successful season?
Yeah. 53 and a half, I think, is like
55 when you can get paid for your picks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that means 45% of the time you're dead ass wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Vegas also pays out a bunch of money. They don't just break it in.
God, it's
So-
just. Again, I said to one of the other podcasters yesterday, I was like, I'm doing my best, and I gave him the suggestion, just don't get on the same roller coaster everybody else is getting on.
Well, and like we were talking about before we started, it's not everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys are smart, and it's just a noisy few.
Yep.
The majority of the fans, especially the ones that I talk to, they're all in the same boat. They said, it's one game.
you
Let's get back
can
there.
be pissed.
Let's get back and
But
go next
look,
week.
Look at your preseason projections.
Bingo.
A lot of us said, "Hey, Purdue's going to be a game we kind of have to worry about. That's a toss-up game." We all wrote Illinois off as being an easy ass fucking game. We were all wrong.
I didn't say easy, but I did.
Regardless, we wrote it up as a win.
Yep.
We thought they didn't, they didn't turn over that much. They didn't bring enough guys in. But it's a Brett Bielema program with guys that are getting older that are clearly developing.
Yeah.
They called a really, really great game against us.
He's a great coach.
He's a great coach.
He still looks like he's trying to figure out if that was a fart or a shit every time I look at his face.
He does.
But outside of that, he coaches a good ball.
But, I mean, you look at the whole thing and you just say, hey, we got beat.
Yeah.
We got beat. We lost the game.
Yep.
Right now, we're 3-1.
Yeah.
Last
Stand back
year,
up. Get back out there.
if you'd have told me last year that we were 3-1 through 4 games, I'd have been happy.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
let's get into the questions.
Well, real quickly, I'm sorry, but the other thing that I said to a couple of people was that you would be moaning and groaning. Did you think everything was going to be fixed just because we brought in a 5-star quarterback? Because if you did, that was on you.
Hey,
See,
I don't.
like.
I would argue that he was not the problem in the game.
No,
last year.
but what I'm saying is, like,
here's the thing.
He actually, I felt like he picked our team up considerably when they started out very flat in the beginning of the game.
I'm not putting any blame on him. I'm just simply saying these people that are like, my God, we lost a game to this. Like, did you think we were going to go undefeated? Like, what were your expectations
Well,
going
if you
into the
asked BJ,
season?
we were going to start like 13-0.
I said 7-0. I said 7-0, and like I said, 1 or 2 plays go our direction, and we could have won by 14 points there. And it is what it is. That's why you play the games.
Mm-hmm.
It's why there's moments like that are going down as the greatest moments in college football history.
Yep.
At the same time, you got to let it go, and you got to move on to the next thing. Just like what the team has to do this week. Cool, you got an extra day to sulk about it over the weekend. I hope you really licked your wounds and got back out there and got to work.
I bet they didn't.
Because guess what?
I bet they just got back out there and got to work.
Well, one way or the other. I hope they're back to work, and I hope they're letting it go because you have to show up against Purdue. This is not going to be a cakewalk, and I hope that this taught them you haven't earned anything yet. You have to take it every single week.
You can use the Illinois game as fuel, but don't dwell on it.
No. This is not the Michigan game where you got fucking absolutely rolled on last year.
All right, let's roll through these questions. Points scored on Nebraska's first drive. Obviously, that's a 0. Everybody took the over on that one. By the way, none of us did very good on these picks. Not a single one of us. Rushing yards by Illinois, 99.5. This was actually looking pretty good through the first 3 quarters, and then they dropped 100 yards in the fourth quarter and overtime.
In the fourth quarter, man.
So they had 166. Matt, you were the only one to take the over. You also said that they won't get close to their average. They got 6 yards away from their average. So,
like you said, that fourth quarter,
yeah,
and overtime,
yeah. Rushing yards by Nebraska, 149.5. Boy, did they not come close to that one. Everybody took the over on that one. That was not good.
That's something for me that is probably the most disappointing after that game. Yeah. Even more than the defense just having a second straight game of looking lackluster. The running game is a problem.
It is.
The lack of a steadfast running back, why we didn't see more Emmett Johnson, I'm confused by.
I would say the lack of a push from our offensive line was a problem.
Well, this is my thing right here. And
there was nothing in between the tackles.
This was something that we griped a lot about during the Frost era, and I understand the standard, whatever the fuck's happening with Micah Mazuka. I sure as fuck hope they figure it out and get over whatever that problem is because we need him back.
Or kick him off the team.
We need him where he is because if you're going to let him get out there on special teams, that means you were letting him get on the field. Mm-hmm. If you're letting him get on the field, you need to be putting him in the best position to help us win. And if you're not going to do that, don't let him on the fucking field at all. Whatever penance he needs to pay to get back out there, whatever, if it's grades or if it's a fight, like if you're, I don't believe that it was still just a scuffle with Rhule in the middle of the Colorado game anymore because that doesn't get you out for 2 weeks. That doesn't have you working on things.
Let's just say that does. It might be 2 games because of how he responded after the game from it. But
maybe so. But there's got to be more than just that incident.
Yeah,
well, I agree with you as far as I'd like to see him on the field, but I'm going to put all my faith in what Matt Rhule's doing with him.
Yeah. I'm putting my faith in what Matt Rhule's doing with him, but if you're going to let him play in the game at all, you got to put him in the fucking best position to help us win.
I don't know. If you look at how the game went, special teams might just be a punishment for players because we clearly didn't want to tackle anybody on special teams. I'll give you that much.
Yeah.
Do you guys make much of the Maher thing getting brought up now? Was that just Rhule appeasing us because supposedly he's been around since preseason?
Yeah. Like the week of the first game, he came in.
Then I'm just confused as fuck it. Like, Rhule made the comment that now he's going to be traveling with us. Now he's going to be working more directly with us. Was he just more consultant style and now he's going more hands-on? Like, I just don't get it.
I have no idea. Question number 4 was Nebraska offensive third down conversions at 44%. They were at 53.3%. I was the only one to take the under, so that was stupid. Who throws more interceptions, Illinois or Nebraska or push? It was obviously Nebraska because Illinois didn't throw one. Everybody got that one wrong because 2 people took the push and 2 people took Illinois.
I took Illinois.
Sacks by Nebraska, 2.5. They had 2. Everybody took the over on that one. Pat Bryant yards per catch at 13.5. He had 14.8. BJ and myself were the only one to take the over on that one. And the last question was, what will be longer, Illinois' longest made field goal or Nebraska's longest scoring play? Illinois had a 27-yard field goal. Nebraska had a 21-yard field goal, so it was Illinois. And Matt, you were the only one
We would
to
have
take
had
Illinois
a
there.
41 or 42-yarder.
Something like that. BJ, you got 2 right. Matt, you got 3 right. And me and the fans each got 1 right. So
Another winning week for me.
Yeah.
All right.
that
Yay!
sucked.
Well,
That
didn't
was
suck
so
as bad as the loss.
awesome.
And now on to Purdue.
Moving on.
On to fucking Purdue.
I can't believe you didn't look up some of the interesting facts about Purdue. I found great stuff here.
Cool.
What do you got there, Matt?
Well, outside of them producing both Neil Armstrong and Eugene, however the fuck you pronounce that last name,
Yeah, that's exciting.
Kernan.
Sounds-
It was the
sounds
first and
interesting.
last people on the moon, okay? Outside of that, they also store Hugh Hefner's jet. That's a pretty fantastic stat.
Isn't Hef dead?
Yeah. He's not flying his jet anymore.
They're
But
storing it.
they still
storing
have
it
the
in
Playboy
perpetuity.
jet on campus.
So does that mean they store it or they have it?
Yeah,
because it's not like he's going to come
they-
back
they
for
just-
it.
He's like Jesus. They're just waiting for him to roll
Yeah.
the stone away and come back and claim that jet,
he's
man.
Titty Jesus.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
So
Well, he did take
the
pills for a
school-
long time to
the
rise
school-
from the dead.
Oh my
But
God.
damn.
The schoolhouse is a Playboy jet. How is that not an interesting
Oh
fact to
my
you?
God.
That's what I got.
Okay.
Well, Matt, you nailed it on the interesting facts. You know what's less interesting than that? Their defense. Jed, why don't you tell us about their defense?
And their offense. Their offense sucks too.
Yeah.
Just the whole team is just really bad. Like,
Why are they so much worse than everybody thought they were going to be? The
Hey,
football
don't
power
tell
index,
Indiana State that.
the matchup predictor on Football Power Index, if you remember when we did our preseason previews, Purdue had the best odds to beat us. They were at like a 47% chance to beat us in the preseason, and now they're down to a 20.
Mhm.
Like, they haven't had major injuries, have they?
Well,
have
one-
they lost a bunch of people?
Well, one of the things that doesn't help is their 2 biggest wide receivers, and I don't mean size wise. I just mean the 2 wide receivers that they were expecting to be the guys. One of them hasn't played yet all year due to an injury, and the other one, Jamal Edrine, he missed last week's game, and he'll miss another 3 to 4 weeks. So,
Jesus.
What happened? Injury as well?
yeah. But so it's like, Hudson Card's missing his 2 main targets that he was supposed to have going into the season. Again, one of them hasn't played yet this year. That doesn't help at all.
It's definitely
No.
showing in his last 2 games. He's
No.
under 50% completion on his
Yeah.
last 2 games.
Well,
It's
he's also
kind of
they're
funny.
also not getting throw the ball around much.
Well, it's kind of funny to see him at 63.6% on the season for completion percentage and thinking that's like respectable.
Yeah, until you look at it.
But the first game he had 96%. So it's like
96% for well over half of his yards from
Yeah.
those 3 games.
yeah.
If
The
we
other,
were- if we
the
were
other 2
rolling-
games he's under 50%.
That's crazy. If we were rolling into this game last year and I'm looking at the passer comparisons between him and Riola, I would definitely be thinking that Riola is the Purdue quarterback.
Mhm.
I'm shocked by the fact that he's got basically half of what the yards are that Riola's produced. And he's throwing the ball almost half the times. Have they just not gotten much opportunity in the last 2 games to be on offense, or are they trying to run the ball that much? Because their leading rushers also basically matching Dante Dowdell, and we all are fully aware of the fact that that's not that exciting.
No. I mean, I love their running back, Devin Maccabee. I liked him ever since his freshman year when he was a walk-on kid and he got the scholarship about halfway through the season because he played so well. I just like watching him run. Is he a dynamic running back? No. But is he an effective running back? Yes. Obviously, he had a great game last week against Oregon State, having over 150 yards. But, you get that Notre Dame game that gets away from you. It was like 40-something to whatever at halftime.
I think it was 41 to
Yeah.
41 to nothing or 41 to 7.
Yeah.
From a Notre Dame team that up
There's
until
41
that
to
point,
nothing.
we thought their offense was pretty suspect. So
Well, it still is, but
that's not a great
I'm
look.
just saying. But, so it kind of does.
Yeah, Riley Leonard still hadn't thrown a touchdown pass until after the Purdue game.
Yes.
And they scored 66 points in that game.
Yes.
Figure that out.
So they really, I don't really want to phrase it this way because they are still really terrible. They haven't really had the opportunity to get their offense going, but I don't know if they have the capability of getting their offense going at the same time.
Oregon State and is it Indiana State? Whoever the fuck INST is.
They played Indiana State. The first game,
yeah, because they've only played 3 games so far. Both Oregon State and Indiana State, neither one of them have a defense that's as talented as what Nebraska's is.
Notre Dame does.
I said those two teams.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Notre Dame,
I missed
yes,
that. Okay.
yes, equal to or better than
I
talent on the
apologize,
field.
Yes.
But especially on the back end.
Yep.
But as far as getting their offense right against us this week, that would tell me that there's more problems on our defense than what I thought after the last game. Because right now I'm still in the camp of they just thought their shit didn't stink, and so they didn't come in prepared. They weren't ready. A lot of guys freaked out halfway through the first and second quarter and lost their minds, weren't doing what they were supposed to do.
I think it depends because, again, I still think Maccabee can get some yards. But Rhule kind of brought this up at the press conference on Monday. How are they going to adjust to the tackling situation? Are they going to continue with the whole everybody just tries to get the ball out, or are they going to go back to the first guy tries to tackle and then the second and third guy try to get the ball out? That's why the whole leaky yardage stuff has been coming up for the Northern Iowa game and for the Illinois game, because it seems like everybody's just trying to get the ball out and not actually trying to tackle somebody.
Yeah.
They need to go back to what they were doing last year and just fucking tackle people.
Yep.
Yeah. Matt, what are you seeing as far as what you've seen in the last 2 games compared to the first 2 games on the tackling side of things? Why would be giving up that extra yardage?
That's exactly what Jed said. They're clearly going after the ball a lot more,
Which is great.
You got MJ Sherman punching the ball in a pile. Like, come on, there was an emphasis to get more turnovers this year. That's what they're going for. I agree with Jed. They need to stop it.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it's hard to say stop going for the ball, but
You don't have to stop going for the
Do
ball.
it if you can.
You have
secure
to,
the tackle first.
You have
Exactly.
to stick to the basics.
yes,
And if you're not going to do the basics, if you're not going to you keep your fundamentals in line, you can't do the extra stuff.
yes.
There's a real fine line between being a ball hawk and being a really talented defender. I would take the defender every day of the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as far as the offense goes for Purdue, one of the other things, the fans are going absolutely apeshit to fire Graham Harrell, the offensive coordinator.
I don't know they had enough fans to go apeshit.
They are not happy with him, and the rumbles to fire Ryan Walters is getting heavier too.
Oof.
Well, he had 1 year of really good D coordinator. Like he was like a Broyles Award finalist, wasn't he? As D coordinator for Illinois.
I would assume so because he was really
And
fucking good.
Everybody was all about it. And then you look at what Illinois' defense is doing this year. They had a down year last year after they lost some guys. Now they seem like they're right back up there. My question is, was he propped up by
I think
Bielema's system, or is he a really, really good coach that was ready for the moment?
I don't know. I'm not going to say that he was ready for the moment, but I do think he's a really, really good defensive coordinator.
But what do you always say? Big Ten schools shouldn't hire first-time head coaches.
No, I say big time schools should not. I don't know.
You say Big Ten and
he
SEC
talks blue
schools.
bloods.
You just said
No.
this the other day.
No,
He talks blue bloods.
yeah.
I thought you just said the
I don't
power
care if
two
Rutgers
schools
goes and
shouldn't be
hires a
hired.
brand new
I don't
head
care if
coach.
Northwestern, like they did, hires a brand new head coach. It's Northwestern.
But if
It's
Ohio
Purdue.
State did it, that's a fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I'm curious, and I hope that all of our shit talking about this guy right now in this situation doesn't turn into them kicking our ass this
There's a
weekend and
fake
us
wood
looking even
table. Just
dumber.
knock on it.
Yeah,
There's
just knock on it.
There's pressed wood in there somewhere.
Yeah, press my wood in there. Jesus.
Gross. What the fuck?
Jesus. Can I move somewhere else?
Yeah, like out of the state.
Anyway,
Just real quick before we get too far away from it, you guys were talking about time of possession for a little bit.
Yeah. It's bad.
Their last 2 games, they were both in the very low 20s
Yeah.
for time
Oof.
of possession on offense.
Yeah. It's
So
really
that's
bad.
part of why he doesn't have some great stats is because he didn't have the ball that much.
that's fair. And I really, really hope that that's the case for us this week because based on everything I've seen, we should be able to run the ball on them. We should be able to get some schemes put together. We should also be able to rotate some underclassmen linemen in to kind of see what they can give us in games. With it, what it looks like is basically a third string hole at left tackle with Corcoran going to be out for, it sounds like, multiple weeks.
Yeah.
Potentially the rest of this season, depending on how that hammy heals up.
Those are such finicky injuries, too.
Especially
That's
for
a
a
hard one
300-pounder.
Yeah. Well, for anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You're right. But
that's just, it's hard to come back
Yeah.
from. Especially at full speed.
Is there anything else exciting that we should go over before we jump into the questions?
As far as Purdue's defense, I kind of thought that they were going to be better than what they are, but they're fucking trash, just like the offense. They're like 132nd in the country as far as rush yards given up. They've given up 705 in the last 2 games. But their linebacker...
705 between 2 games.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Their linebacker, who I mistakenly thought was transferring, Kydron Jenkins, is by far and away their best player. He is leading the team in tackles for loss, sacks, and tackles. He is completely picking up where he left off last year with the great season he had. But the big thing is that the edges on their defense, they cannot set an edge to save their life. The last 2 weeks, like I said, 705 rushing yards. 70% of those yards were off the edges.
That's almost exactly split between Oregon State and Notre Dame. Oregon State ran it for 341 on 57 attempts at 6 average.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But it's an average of 10 yards a carry off the edges for those last 2 games.
That's tough. That's tough. That screams to me right there. This is going to be an Emmett Johnson, Ramir Johnson type game.
And also for me, because I have a question on here about this, it screams Ja'Cory Barney.
Yep.
Like
yeah.
crazy.
Jet sweep all day.
Yes.
Give me some more of that
Yes.
backfield action.
They love that little touch pass.
You know the crazy thing about that? It reminds me so much of when Wan'Dale Robinson was still here and Scott Frost was trying all this cutesy shit in the backfield, and we were sitting talking, and I think that was the first year I did the podcast with you. We would talk about the fact that it seems like everything back there, all that action takes so long to get out of the backfield. You got guys running 30 yards and they wind up with a +2 on the fucking play. It doesn't seem that way in this offense.
Sometimes they'd lose.
It hasn't seemed that way in this offense. Do you think that that's an execution thing, or do you think that's a play design thing?
I think it's an offensive line thing.
All the screwing around in the backfield, that didn't have anything to do with the offensive line.
The amount of time you have to get the playoff absolutely does.
That's fair.
I would say the lack of screen game or quality screen game that we used to have was all offensive line. That I would go with. The other stuff, it's just, I mean, considering the way that those coaches were and the shit show that it was, it could be preparation.
Scott got too high and forgot to write the rest of the play.
It might not be a scheme thing. It could just be a preparation thing.
That's possible.
Also, if you take a look at the quarterback caliber, he does a really great job with his fakes, with his fake reads, with his handoffs. Some of that is just him not giving. He doesn't give the play away early. That's
he
part
does
of it.
a really, really good job of directing his guys where they should be going.
Yep.
Whether it's
Not only that, but directing the
way,
defense where they shouldn't be going.
Yeah, whether it's with the way that he's trying to give them the ball or how he's pulling it out, like whatever it might be, he is doing the little. They did it in back-to-back games now where we line up in a jumbo set and we end up getting a fake where he gets to run out and the whole defense bites down on it.
Yeah.
The whole defense. We had one guy that stayed home for it on Illinois, and he still ran for, I think, 8 or 9 yards and got the first down.
His head movements are huge. That's something that doesn't get talked about a ton, is that he's not taking the ball and looking right where he's going with it. He's looking around. He's doing other things.
Yeah.
He's playing like a quarterback should.
That's the Patrick Mahomes effect, in my opinion. That's
I
a
was
lot of what
hoping-
he does. It's a lot of what he does. You know, I hate Kansas City.
Because Patrick Mahomes was the first and only quarterback that's ever looked in a different
just
direction.
talking about him mimicking every little thing he does.
I know.
It's for a good thing in this case. I don't give a shit about his sunglasses and his sleeves. Anything else, boys, or should we jump into the questions?
Let's do the questions. Question number 1, Nebraska rushing yards, 199.5. Can we get to 200? Purdue ranks 132nd in the country, giving up 260 per game. Nebraska averages 140 per game. I pretty much split the difference there on this one. Since 2021, Nebraska has gained 200-plus rushing yards against 2 power conference teams. Colorado last year and Northwestern in 2021. That's not good.
That's not great. That's also really bad rush defense by Purdue.
Yeah.
So what you set the line at?
Can we get to 200? 199.5.
I'm going to let BJ answer this one first because I don't want to.
I'm going to take this as a yes, simply because of the fact that I think that if you're going to get the run game going, this has to be a focus this week. You have to take a little bit of the pressure off the offensive line. It's a lot easier for them to try and run block than it is to pass block, especially on that left side. I feel like if we can't get it right against a team that's given up 700 yards on the ground over the last 2 weeks, all we're asking for is 200. We're not even asking for a third of that.
We're not asking for the 350 that the last two teams have gotten.
You can't tell me that Oregon State, as depleted as they were after they lost their coaching staff and 3/4 of their starters, can't tell me they've got more talent on the offensive line and in the running back room than what we do.
They're not even the best team in the Pac-12 this year.
Jesus. They actually do have two pretty decent running backs. They have kind of a double head.
They're the worst team in the Pac-12 this year.
One of two.
Are they better than Washington State?
Two.
No, they're worse.
Are they worse?
They're one loss.
Anyway, I'm taking the over.
Okay.
I think this number would be safe if you put it up to 250, but I think 200 is a good number.
I'm taking the under. Prove it. I want to be wrong.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm at the under.
I'm going to go one step further on this and say that we are going to, for the first time this season, get a 100-yard rusher.
I was feeling pretty okay with the over until you brought out that stat where we haven't done it outside of 2 times in the last how many years? So
4 years. Well, 3.5 years.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the under.
Yeah. My thing is it's not just prove it to get to 200. It's prove it that you're actually going to run the ball enough to do it.
Especially with a banged up offensive line.
And that's not necessarily a criticism, because if the best part of your offense is to throw the ball, by all means, throw the ball.
Yes.
I'm not criticizing it. I'm just simply saying they haven't really shown that they have a commitment to consistently run the ball, not just the ability. It's also just about the consistency to call running plays.
Well, not only that, but we have a pretty talented quarterback and receiver core.
Yep.
I don't think that we should abandon that just because we can.
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see. If we put up 800 yards, I'll be happy to be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we need in this game, though. This needs to be a get right.
Yeah, I'd love to be Notre Dame in this game.
Of Purdue, and the defense, it all has to start on the defensive side of the ball. So I hope you've got some good D questions coming up.
Oh, yeah, I got some good D.
God, both of you. I want to leave. I want to go home.
I'm going to stick with the running back situation. And this guy's been brought up the last 2 weeks, but he hasn't gotten the ball. Especially last week, he didn't get the ball. Emmett Johnson carries. He has 13 on the season. He had 0 last week. He did play last week, but he didn't get the ball last week. He had 8, 1, and 4 in the first 3 weeks. This number is going to be super low because just give him the fucking ball and prove it again. 5.5.
Carries?
Carries.
Over.
He's only gone over once this year so far. Just saying again, he had 8, 1, and 4 the first 3 weeks. So over for you, Matt?
Over.
I'm going heavy over. I think that there's going to be... I think you're going to see a decent-sized dose of him and Gabe Ervin this week. I was going to say, I feel like if there's a surprise running back out there this week, it's either Emmett Johnson going over 100 because he's so effective running around the outside.
He's also the second leading rusher on the team.
Yeah.
And he only has 13 carries. I mean,
and you got to remember he picked up 45 or 50 of those yards in one chunk. But I also think that you're going to see a good dose of Emmett Johnson around the outside. I think Gabe Ervin has to get a little bit of a shot unless there is some sort of an injury coming along that we don't know.
I wonder if the hip is still bothering him.
And that's the only thing that I can think, because he still looked strong in the first 2 games. He hasn't done shit in the last 2.
Why wouldn't, in your guys' opinion, we just keep feeding the ball to Dowdell since he was kind of their chosen back in the first couple of games? Didn't they say before the year started that they wanted to choose a back or 2 and stick with them?
They did, but...
And then they didn't.
This is the thing that I heard, and I can't remember what show I heard it on. For some reason, I want to say I heard Damon talk about it, but then again, when I say it out loud, I feel like that's not something he would say out loud, at least not in public. Dowdell runs dumb. He doesn't have vision. He runs into the back of people constantly. He trips over people constantly. Yes, when he's in open field, he's electric and he'll run somebody over. We saw him break Shiloh Sanders' fucking forearm. He's a good runner downhill, but he doesn't have vision. No. And when your offensive line is not creating, the phrase I think that I heard was, he's a good guy to hit the hole. He doesn't find a crease. And you need a guy that can find a crease. And that guy, the instant moment that I heard that, now I'm rethinking this. It was Damon. I heard him talk about this.
But he didn't say he runs dumb.
No, he didn't say he runs dumb. I'm paraphrasing.
I'm
saying what he wouldn't say out loud.
Yes.
David Benning said he runs dumb. You heard it here.
No, what he went on to talk about when he said hits the crease, it instantly made me think of some runs that Emmett Johnson had late last year where he burst through the hole and all of a sudden he's got 20 or 30 yards up the middle because they thought they had the center sealed off. He can find a crease. I haven't seen Ramir Johnson do that. I definitely haven't seen Gabe Irvin do that in a long time. That's why I think Emmett Johnson's going to have a hell of a day, and I think that he could probably bust it off for over 100.
So you're saying he's not getting as many touches because they need more crevice squeakers?
Potentially. I don't know, man. You can't argue with the he runs dumb thing.
You know what crevice squeaks are called?
Good runners.
Okay. Yeah. Nailed it.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm not even drinking.
Yeah, so I'm taking the over on that.
Got you covered.
I think he's probably going to be, if he's not our leading back, it's because Ramir's having a really big day.
I'm taking the over because I don't want Coach Rhule to be just like Scott Frost in 1,000 different ways, but especially like Frost when he goes to a press conference and brings up a certain player for multiple weeks in a row, but still doesn't do anything with him
on the field.
Yeah.
Exactly. Question number 3. Again, we talked about this earlier, and this is something that needs to be fixed. Missed tackles by Nebraska. I put it at 9.5. Well, we get to double digits. We had 11 total in the first 2 games, missed tackles. We had 20 in the last 2 games, so 10 average 10 in each game.
No.
We had 11 missed tackles against Purdue last year.
No.
So
not double digits. Yes. I'm going under. I think that you're going to see a lot more of last year's defense this week. There's going to be dominant contact, not nearly as worried about, like if you had a turnover thing on here, I wouldn't be worried about turnovers this week. They're going to be playing super solid coverage and hitting dudes and swarming to the ball to bring them down, not necessarily rip stuff out.
I agree with you that we're going to see last year's defense, but again, last year we had 11 missed tackles against Purdue. Just
fair.
Saying.
You're not getting me to change my answer, Jed.
I wasn't trying to. I was just letting you know.
I'm not doing
all the information.
As much as I think that, BJ, you're correct, and we're going to see a change in our defense, we have not seen the defense that I wanted to see the last 2 weeks. I'm taking the over on missed tackles, and I want to be fucking wrong.
I'm going to take the under because I don't know. I mean, they're going to try to run the ball, but even if they have to throw the ball, they are not good at throwing the ball, and I don't know that we're going to need to tackle them that much because they won't catch very many.
But if they catch the ball, are we going to whiff trying to hit it out of their hands?
I'm still taking the under.
Happy to be wrong on that one.
Yep.
We need to catch up to him a little bit anyway. So
that was also slightly one of the reasons why I went the other way on that one.
You get sucked this year.
Yeah, no shit.
You too, fans. I'm just saying.
I think the fans won the first 2 weeks.
Facts are facts. That's all I can say.
No one knows what it means.
Didn't the second week Matt went 7-1 or something like that?
That was the third week he went.
Woof.
Rocked it hard.
Yeah.
From Florida.
From Florida, with love.
Question number 4, Devin Mockabee, running back for Purdue, rushing yards. He averages 92 per game. He had 42 against Nebraska last year. I'm putting this number at 79.5.
Under.
Yeah, I'm going under too. Like I said, this is going to be an old school defensive game for us from last year. I think that the run stop is... I would guess we hold them to an average of less than 3 and less than 70 yards for sure.
I'm taking the under for a very different reason. I think because they're so bad at throwing the football, we are going to be able to bring more than 3 or 4 guys a lot this game. And I hope we do. I want to see 6 dudes in the backfield on half of the plays. And because of that, I think we're going to tackle him in the backfield a lot.
This brings up a really good question, and I want to go here before we hear your answer, Jed.
That's fine.
Why do you think we have been so opposed to bringing blitz packages this year compared to last year?
Apparently, we blitzed 37% last week, so I mean, we did a lot.
Did we bring how many times did we bring more than 5 guys?
Like a safety blitz? Like,
Just simply saying.
I don't remember seeing more than just 2 or 3 plays in the late second half where we brought more than 4 or 5 guys.
I'm just giving you the number that
and when we
came
get
out.
When we do bring those packages out, we are swarming back there so fast.
Yeah,
we were extremely the blitzes were extremely effective late in the second half.
When we got that fumble on the quarterback, I can't remember his name last week. When we knocked it out of his hand, that's because we actually brought somebody.
Yeah, there was a corner blitz.
Yeah,
so you're right.
Yep.
Came in and stripped that out. It's a little baffling to me. I get it. They're trying to run a pro style program. And that's how a pro style defense is going to do it. They're going to lock you down on the backside and hope that 3 or 4 guys gets home. But fuck, I'd like to see a little bit more.
I don't disagree with you.
Especially since I took the over on our sack totals this year.
It's not looking good.
It's all
so
about
far.
me, guys. It's not about you. Come on.
Could some of it be because we're not playing as many guys on the defensive line and we're trying to save some of them?
That's another thing that you keep hearing everybody talk about is the Riley Van Poppel thing and Sewell Fotu. He hasn't been healthy. Apparently, he's going to be back this week.
Yeah.
That's Rhule made a big point of that. I get it if you want to try and redshirt guys, but like Riley Van Poppel, if he was as good as he was last year, did he not improve that much over the offseason? Do you really think we have that many other guys? Because it sure as fuck didn't look like it against Illinois.
Yeah.
Against Illinois, it looked like we gassed some of our superstars early in the game because
in the first quarter.
They were getting double teamed nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Speaking of guys that might come back, this isn't on the defensive line. But
Speaking of double teams, I thought he was going.
Not what I said at all.
An oddly sexual show. Sorry for bringing up Hugh Hefner early, guys.
I was listening to Rhule on Sports Nightly earlier, and he got a question about Javin Wright and said he might play this week. And he said if not, then he should probably be able to play next week. So that's
awesome.
That's a great feeling. Whether or not he's going to be that much of an impact when he does get back, I don't know that. With having the time off, but
either way, just for him, that's great news.
Absolutely.
You're bringing up another question that I have for you.
Uh-oh. Do we answer the first one?
I feel like we're never going to get back to your questions and your answer on this current question. But bringing in Javin Wright on that, a question that I had pop into my head when I was thinking about the different reasons that maybe the defense has been lackluster. It didn't seem that way during the Colorado game, but there also seemed to be way more predetermination about what was going on the field.
Also, the energy in that game, that's kind of an outlier as well. So
the energy is also kind of where I'm going with this. It's known that it's difficult to hear in Memorial Stadium when we're on defense. The communication has seemed to be lacking. There were so many times during the Illinois game where they're coming off the field, like Ty Robinson was yelling at Mekhi Bear coming off the field, early third quarter, and it seemed like it was just like you go back and watch the play again, and Mekhi Bear just straight up misses coverage on a dude, and he's wide open in the middle of the field, and it's like a lot of what the coaches talked about in the press conferences, players talked about in the press conferences. You know, guys need to do their job and stop worrying about trying to help somebody else do theirs, things like that. But how much of that could you also maybe point to it being a communication issue that they just don't want to admit out loud? Because they don't have that leader in the middle of the defense. You have Isaac Gifford wearing the green dot. They're not hardly using it at all. They're sending in signals from the sideline.
Well, they can't hardly use it at all in Memorial Stadium.
Because they can't hear.
Wait,
I get
Rhule
that.
had to go get a sound dampening headset because he couldn't hear anything.
I get that, but I'm just curious how much better you think the communication is going to be in an already typically quiet Boilermakers stadium.
I don't think it's a factor at all, even at Memorial Stadium, because they know that it's going to be loud and they prepared for it to be loud to be able to communicate.
I don't know.
Like,
it took Rhule till
it's
game
not-
3 or till game 3 to get that headset.
No, he had it in the Colorado game.
He got it after the Colorado game.
Yeah, he said in the press conference for the Northern Illinois game that he had gotten noise canceling. He got the second headset or the second earphone.
That's what I mean. Like, yes, they prepared for it, but not enough. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, but
it was just a thought that I had because I'm trying to think
I
of
get
other
your point.
reasons.
I just don't.
That there would be guys that are just blowing assignments for no reason. It's very it's not characteristic for this defense at all. And that's why Javin Wright coming back made me think of that, and the fact that maybe he was a little bit more of the leader in fall camp than what a John Bullock or what Bear were at that position, because typically you're going to have the heart of your defense, the middle linebacker, kind of be that captain voice of the defense. You can't have it all the way on the back end.
Like I said, I get the question, and I understand your reasoning in the question. I just think that as far as with the Illinois game, they just had a bad game, and everything started to snowball. They got frustrated, so they started yelling at each other for not being in the right position. I don't think that the communication was really as far as being inside the Memorial Stadium, because that's something that they would prepare for.
Honestly, the frustration kind of explains all the penalties too.
Yeah.
So. All right.
That was a big time thing.
Let's hit the big old rewind button. What was the question that you now need to answer?
Devin Mockabee rushing yards at 79.5.
This is such an important question.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I actually think he's going to get pretty close to this, but I am going to take the under.
I don't even know what I said on this one.
Under.
We all took under. It'll be over for sure.
Yeah.
If it is, there's problems.
Okay, so question 5. What will happen first? A Purdue takeaway, a Purdue field goal attempt, or neither? Purdue is one of 2 teams to not have a takeaway this entire season so far. Troy is the other team. Purdue is also one of 2 teams to not have a field goal attempt at all, along with Navy.
Wow.
So they have 0 takeaways. They almost had one in the last game, but it got overturned. But still, they technically have 0 takeaways, and they have 0 field goals attempt. So which will have it happen first? One of those 2 or neither?
In this game?
In this game. I'm not asking for their 6th game of the season.
Yeah, how are they going to do against Oregon? Okay.
I'm going to go with the takeaway.
That's their 6th game of the season.
I'm going to go with the takeaway. Wait, we're talking about them losing the ball, right?
No. A Purdue takeaway.
Oh, no. I'm going with the field goal. If it's going to happen, no, I'm going with the field goal.
Okay.
You're going to shit your pants when you find out that Oregon's their 6th game of the season, by the way.
That's fine.
I'm taking neither.
Neither? Okay.
If they score, it'll be on some fucked up defensive play, and they'll actually score a touchdown.
Well, if it's on
That'd
a
be a
defensive play,
takeaway.
that'd be a takeaway.
No, like our defense fucked up, and they scored a touchdown while they're on offense.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The way that you said that.
Yeah, clearly I said it wrong. You both got confused.
It's like, we're all speaking English. We're all speaking English here.
I'm going to go a field goal attempt as well, because I think that they'll get into field goal range before they get a takeaway, if they get a takeaway at all. Question 6. First downs by Purdue at 12.5. They averaged 15 per game, but they only had 6 versus Notre Dame. And Nebraska allows 17.5 per game. They allowed 25 last week against Illinois. So 12.5 first downs by Purdue.
Just based off of their time of possession over the last 2 games, I'm taking the under.
Okay. Even in that last game, they were over that number as far as first downs.
Taking the under.
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the over on this one.
Okay.
Because penalty yards still count, and I'm not convinced.
That's true.
I'm not convinced that we are not going to still step on our own dicks a little bit with penalties.
If we are better at tackling this week, we'll have less penalties.
I agree with that. Depending on whether or not the right Big Ten crew shows up, but I agree with that.
Remember, we don't blame refs.
I'm not blaming refs. I'm just saying some refs throw more flags.
Who decided we don't blame refs?
I did, because that's fucking stupid.
That's fucking stupid.
Father Jed over here.
Yeah.
I'm saying what Jed's saying is fucking stupid right
That's
now.
fine. That's
No
fine.
one knows what it means.
We don't blame refs, my ass.
Yeah, no, we do not. Never mind. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the over on this one too. Question number 7. Penalties have been a little bit of an issue, like we just kind of talked about.
A little bit?
Yes.
They've been worse than they were last year.
Second half penalties by Nebraska. That's kind of been one of the bugaboos. So we've had 10 first half penalties. We've had 18 second half penalties. 4 per game in the last 2 games in the second half. So basically, do we get to that average? So 3.5 penalties in the second half by Nebraska.
In the second half?
Just the defense?
Nope. The total team.
I'm going under, and that's just strictly because I think that's I thought it was going to have been a point of pride coming into this game to fix that. It's got to be coming into Purdue.
Okay.
I'm going over because you're allowing for the offense too. And if we're beating them bad enough, we'll have some new guys in there.
That's fair.
That is fair. I'm going to go with the over because they've kind of been over all these games, and hopefully it's not. I want to be wrong on that one.
Yeah, if we have 18 through 4 games, we had 4 each of the last 2 games. That means we've had 5 the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Each. So.
My last question. Ja'Cory Barney Jr., all-purpose yards. This is rushing, receiving, and return yards. He is averaging 66.8 yards per game. He had 92 versus Colorado and 85 versus UTEP. So I'm putting this at 89.5.
Ooh.
I think one of the big things is how many kickoff returns do you think he's going to get? If you don't think Purdue's going to score much,
does Purdue
bit.
kick it out or not? That seems to just be like a philosophy now. It's either you're a person who throws it off back of the end zone, or you try and make them return it every time.
But the thing is, if you don't think they're going to score, that means they're only going to kick it off one time.
That's fair.
That's
all-purpose yards. I'm going to go over for Ja'Cory Barney. I think he finally breaks one. I do think that there's going to be some major chunk plays in this game. I think he's going to be a part of that. And then he's just going to naturally wind up with, as long as we can keep the flags from coming out every time he touches the ball, he's gonna just naturally wind up with 10 or 15 about 4 times. I think he's going to go over. We're going to put up like 600 plus yards in this game.
No, we won't.
I think so.
Outside of the last thing you said, I agree with your logic.
Yeah.
600 would be a lot.
Yeah.
But I got to take the under on this one.
Okay.
Just based off of math. And we should be able to spread the ball around pretty well.
I'm going to take the over because of what we talked about earlier with how they do not, on defense, they do not set the edge very well. And I think this is a big Ja'Cory Barney type game. And my luck, they'll use all those Ja'Cory Barney plays with like Jalen Lloyd now. And then I'll get fucked. But I think the bulk of these yards are going to be in rushing yards for Ja'Cory Barney. And I'm going to go with the over on 89.5.
Lloyd has not looked as nearly as electric as Ja'Cory Barney this year, and he hasn't had great hands.
He looks slower.
He still has not had more than 1 catch in a game in his entire career.
It's
not great. It's not great.
Weird.
It's crazy.
I thought he'd be blowing the top off of teams left and right, and it's just not happening.
That's what I said in our recap show for Illinois. I just don't understand why we seem to have all this speed. We're not trying to take the top off the defenses at all. And if we are, it's just clearly not there, and he's not going for it. Ross-Ade Stadium, West Lafayette, Indiana. Kickoff is at a crisp 11 a.m. Central. Game time is supposed to be 68 degrees. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous fall day to be playing football. They did sell this out.
Kind of. They say that in maybe around the fourth quarter, that hurricane might be up there. So the fourth quarter might get a little sloppy.
A hurricane in Indiana?
Yeah. Well,
isn't Indiana
the hurricane
landlocked?
that's coming up right now, the rain is going to be, they said it might be over the Indiana area by the time the fourth quarter starts.
Oh, wow.
So it might sprinkle on Indiana
Yeah.
by the time the fourth quarter starts? All right, cool.
Sprinkling.
Just saying.
I don't know what to say. It's sprinkling.
Those mid-fall Indiana hurricanes, they'll fucking get you.
Yeah, I feel like Indiana, it typically is like gloomy every game I watch in Indiana anyway. I think that's just kind of the whole state in general. They're just a gloomy people. There. Yeah, they're a gloomy people.
Well, the weather was nice for the Notre Dame Purdue game. They were just gloomy because they were getting their ass kicked.
They were all home by the middle of the second quarter. That's what I hope happens in this game. Like I said, 68 degrees and sunny at game time. We'll see if Hurricane Karen or whatever her name is rolling into town to ruin things. But I do think that we're going towards the 600 mark on yards. Nebraska is a 9.5 point favorite currently. It opened up at minus. Oh, excuse me. They're minus 10 currently. Opened up at 9.5. The over under is 49.5. So they are anticipating a decent amount of scoring in this game. I don't know that our our defense is going to give up enough points for us to get all the way there. But then again, with us putting up close to 600 yards in offense, I think I'm going to take Nebraska with the points, and I'm going to go over on the 49.5. Matt?
I'll do Nebraska with the points, and I'm taking under on that. I think Purdue puts up practically a goose egg.
Like 35-3-ish.
Purdue puts up practically a goose egg, and I don't see us scoring more than 28-35, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in the low 40s. However much they score, I mean, they'll probably score at least towards the end of the game when we have our scrubs in. So probably the over on the total, but I think it's right at it, but not much more. But yeah, I don't want to say this better be a comfortable win, because if then we win by 21 points and everybody freaks the fuck out because we only won by 21 points, it's going to be like,
If we win by 21, I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah.
I don't think I even really care about what a score, like what a scoring differential there is.
I don't either.
For me, it's more about the eye test.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see this be a physical, confident team that doesn't look like they're upset and bummed out about what happened last week.
As long as we win, I truly don't give a shit what the score is.
I was going to say, if
like
we end up...
what you just said, how does it look? If it looks good,
If it looks
fine.
good and Purdue plays their balls off and they're way closer to the team we thought they were going to be preseason, this will be a close game.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it being a close game if we play a good game.
Yep.
If we lose, we'll have some things to panic about.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't see it happening.
No.
I'm not concerned about it. I think it's going to be a good game. I'll be eating some homemade B&Gs in my sweats watching this one. We're not doing anything special for the game. It's just going to be a comfortable away game that hopefully goes our way.
Yeah, I intend to be able to nurse my hangover with a couple beers.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
And I'll be working.
That doesn't sound nice.
But I'll be listening to it on the
way
radio.
to bring the mood down.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Kids over here, Captain Bummer
Talking
Pants.
about great fall Saturday
No,
stuff.
It's all right. He got to go to the game last Friday.
That's true.
I'll be right around Norris Middle School, and I'll be listening to the game in my headphones, and I will be screaming at the top of my lungs as I walk from house to house, and people will look at me really weird as if they don't already.
You're just going to be like a normal person walking down the street down there.
Yeah.
Why is that crazy man dressed in a mailman outfit?
When Ja'Cory Barney and Emmett Johnson are scoring, 70-yard touchdown runs on end arounds, I'm going to be jumping up and down and throwing mail up in the air, and hopefully I sort it out later.
Jed's walking down the street with poppers and streamers going off, dropping M80s in mailboxes. Here we go.
Love it.
Like, subscribe, follow. We love you guys. Go Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.